So today we're cooking Boston butt on a Hasty Bake Legacy grill for pulled pork sandwiches. We'll be using the snake method like we've used before, where you pile up charcoal all the way around the outside of that charcoal box and let it consume the next briquettes next to it as it goes, and maybe hit some pecan chunks along the way to bathe all that product in smoke. We'll put some bologna on there also, and I'll show you how I do this on my Hasty Bake. So let's get started. So this is the Hasty Bake Legacy that I have, and I'm going to use the charcoal snake method today. You can see I've wrapped the charcoal all the way around the outside of that box with some chunks of wood, and that way we get a good long consistent burn for a long smoke on this pork butt. This is just a Boston butt you'd buy at the local grocery store, bone-in Boston butt, pork shoulder, and there's not much to do to them to get ready for the smoker. I'm just going to dry it off really well and take any of the little pieces of meat that are kind of hanging off there off, and maybe score the fat cap. Not necessary, but it does help it render out a little quicker. And then we can get it all dry rubbed and ready to put on that Hasty Bake Legacy to smoke today. I'm going to rub it today with Payne County Bird. This is my own seasoning. It's a poultry and pork blend. I use it on fatty chicken like thighs and whole bird and drumsticks, and any pork product works really well on. So we'll get it good and coated here and get it out on the Hasty Bake. I do like to put a little black pepper on the top, not so much for flavor, but for a kind of a three-dimensional aspect for smoked it here too. It does change the bark quite a bit, as you'll see later. And since we're only putting one pork shoulder on this big Hasty Bake, I'm going to go ahead and cook some bolognas to put beside it. I like to fill the grill when I can. I like to cut these in half or quarters and then score them about a ½ inch deep from pole to pole, and that allows the skin of the bologna to kind of open up as it cooks and not deform the product. Also gives some cracks and crevices for smoke to get down into. So you've seen me do this a lot of times before, so we'll kind of get through it here. And we'll load everything up. Hasty Bakes come up to temperature, so I'll drop this charcoal rack down to the bottom. That way we get that good smoke bathing our product without that direct heat, and no flame, kissing our product there. Put the grills back on and load the butt and the 4 pieces of bologna for a good long smoke. Hasty Bakes are really, really good grills for something like this, because you can lift that charcoal basket back up and grill directly right under the product also. Makes a really good variable smoker / grill. This bologna will not take very long, maybe a couple hours. We'll check on it here in about an hour, and I'll show you what it looks like about an hour in. But we're running at about 225 degrees right now in this Hasty Bake. So it's about halfway done there. Pork butt's starting to get nice and orange. Usually about 2 or 2.5 hours on a direct heat method like this, and the bologna will be done. It takes a little longer on an offset smoker, maybe 3 or 4 hours. But you can see that sweat's happening on the bologna, and it's gotten that nice kind of reddish mahogany color. That's perfectly done bologna. And you can see the crust is starting to form on that Boston butt as well. I'm going to go ahead and install this little deflector plate that comes with these Hasty Bakes over the fire, because now when that pork butt starts to get more cooked, it'll start releasing some fat and some drippings, and I don't want them to catch fire and burn the bottom of that pork butt. So we'll put that little deflector plate over the top of the charcoal that comes with it in the Hasty Bake. This is about 3 or 4 hours in, and you can see the crust is well formed, so I'm going to put some Payne County, Oklahoma style marinade on there. It adds a good dark color, and it also adds a lot of flavor to these Boston butts or briskets on long smoke, slow cook like this. Just show you the progress of this charcoal. It works really well. Their design works really, really well. And it's a large charcoal basket, so you can do this snake method easily without any extra tools or anything. You just stack that charcoal around the outside like that, and it works really, really well. I'm impressed with this unit as a whole. They're not real cheap units. I think this was $1,500 or $1,600 after tax. But it sure holds a lot of product, and they have great guarantees and warranties. They're handmade right here in Tulsa. So here we are. We're about 7 hours into this. When you see how my finger actually goes through the fat when I push, that means that fat is rendered and broken, and it is ready to wrap. So we're going to put it in a couple sheets of heavy-duty aluminum foil. We'll wrap it up nice and tight, and then we'll put it back on this Hasty Bake to finish until an internal temperature of 205 degrees. That's where I like to take a pork shoulder like this too. And we don't need to add any more wood at this point, but I am going to add some more charcoal to that fire because we're going to need another hour and a half or two of burn. So I'm going to add some more charcoal to that snake and just kind of continue it. And you'll learn how much charcoal to add, but I don't know what the recipe is, but you can see the width and height of the train of charcoal that I'm using. It's like about that much. And then if it's too hot, you can lower that rack with that handle like I showed you, or you can raise it up if it's too cool, or you can open the air vents. This is a really easy grill / smoker to manipulate the temperature on. Put it all back together, and I'm going to go ahead and install a probe thermometer in that Boston butt also, so we can watch for that internal temperature. And then we're just going to wait until that Boston butt comes up to the temperature that we want it to. Be sure and get it in the deepest part of that meat without hitting the bone. And then we'll hang out for another hour and a half or so. 205 is my favorite internal temperature to pull a pork butt out if you're going to rest it for a long time, which I am. I like to rest them in a 150 degree oven. I like to rest them in a cooler. Today we're going to use just this Coleman or Igloo cooler that I have. Put them down in the belly of that cooler and leave your thermometer in. And you just watch that thermometer to hit 150 degrees. When it does, this is what your pork butt will look like. All that collagen will set back up as gelatin inside the product, and it will be incredibly juicy and tender. See that great bark we got on this Hasty Bake today? And you can see the three-dimensionality of that bark from all the black pepper and the dry rub. Whenever I pull apart a Boston butt for pulled pork sandwiches or just to serve as pulled pork dinner or whatever, I like larger chunks, about the size of your thumb, with some bark on each one if you can. Of course, there's going to be some without bark. That's how I like to pull it apart. Even the large chunks you can bite right through because it's so soft, so I just don't like it shredded into a kind of a mush like you get at some restaurants. So there's our pulled Boston butt pork cooked on a Hasty Bake smoker. Thank you guys so much for watching today.